Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Just Talking 24, page 45. I never meant for this it's not a podcast, it's a broadcast. And I never meant it to be a one word instigated type of thing, but that's what it's turning out to be. The word of the week is, and I give you a word and I speak a half an hour on that one word. But that's how it's turning out to be. And this week is not going to be any different. And the word of this week is what the world needs now. Yep, and it's not a four-letter word. The word that I'm talking about this week is patience. Okay? I know with the way our world is, everything is, what they call a New York minute, whatever that is. But I mean, we want it done yesterday. We want it done expeditiously, immediately. I used to get that at the hospital. Like I know I've explained this to you. Like some of the blood tests that the doctors request or require for diagnosis is a rather complicated test, and we don't have the facilities here in Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii, look how small our population is, right? And these blood tests require equipment that's very expensive, and it requires technicians that have the proper training to prepare the sample for the experiment correctly. So anyway, we send it to the mainland, and we're not the only people that do. You have one testing facility, say in California, and that will service the West Coast. I mean, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Montana, Hawaii. And, well, when you got that many states sending their samples to this one place, you're naturally going to have a backup. Yeah. And so some of the blood tests will take like almost 2 weeks to come back. And the patients are just up in arms. How come you cannot find out sooner? How come it takes so long? And then you got to try to explain it to them. And in the meantime, they're admitted to the hospital for other reasons. Sometimes, we're just for observation and stuff like that. But you got to try to explain it to them. And because a lot of them expect, what they see on TV. In 1 hour, it's going to be done. Everything is done. You're treated. Your life's going on good, and then you get afflicted with this disease, and then you're diagnosed, and you're treated, and you're released, and it only took an hour. And so, you know, although people know it's make believe, they actually believe that that's how it's going to happen. And what's happening in the government is going to take some time because the Democrats just won't give in. They just actually what it is they know they realize that they're almost at the end of their rope. Look at New York. New York, they elected a communist. This guy comes on and says he's a communist. He's socialist communist, which is not what the United States is about, but they voted for him. And we have shown through history that communism doesn't work. It doesn't. The only place where communist works, I'm sorry about that, but rather effectively too, is an ant colony. Believe it or not, that's the. I was thinking about it. What's the difference between socialists and communists? Ask people that. What's the difference between socialists and communists? And the only difference is socialists you can have privately owned companies, but you got to give all your profits to the government because it has to go to the people. That's the socialists all about. And so it doesn't really blossom or it doesn't really, grow self-reliance. It doesn't really grow initiative because why try harder if the government going to take more of what I make? It doesn't make sense. And like I said, the best analogy I could come up with for communism is an ant colony. You know, I I think it was in South America. They took an ant nest and they filled it with either concrete or metal. I believe it was concrete, very wet concrete, and they let it set. And then they took away all the dirt. And it showed the complexity of an ant colony. Now, the only thing is, I mean, they're very efficient. They had little pockets here, little pockets there. I mean, it was a very efficient colony. The only thing is, ants don't have brains. Did you know that? The scientists think that they have a biometric plasma, biometric fluid in them that acts something like a brain. Yeah, ants don't actually think, they just do. And they never sleep. They constantly work, work, work. So if you want to be an ant, yep, that's communism and it works. The last major communistic belief we had was China. Mao Zedong, after World War II, he kicked out General Chiang Kai shek and he exiled him from China and he started the Communist People's Party. And it was fully communist. Everybody, there is no religion, there is no private property, there is no real leadership except him, right? Yeah, but anyway, and he ruled that country with an iron fist. Now, they call it communism, I call it dictatorship. But it's only in a name, right? And his theories worked as long as he was alive. Then once he died and the new regime took over, the middle class started to come out of the Chinese society. And today they have a middle class. Today they have privately owned company. Well, they say they're privately owned, but the government still tells you exactly what to do. And if you play ball with the government and gives them give them their kickbacks and whatever, you're allowed to prosper. And so the Chinese economy is doing well for some people and not doing well for others. Like everything else, you get, like I said, that curve. You cannot get away from that curve. That curve is a natural thing, and you need patience. And the Chinese used to, I mean, they've had 10,000 years of being suppressed. They have patience, but their patience is growing thin too. They're starting to make moves. They've got it in the electronics, electronics field. They got it in the production field. Look at what they make. Look at Walmart. You know, look at Amazon. Look at Costco. How much stuff made in China is in our marketplace. How much stuff from China is in our marketplace? Yep. So their patience is paying off. They're infiltrating the American way. Trump sees this. He's going to try and stop it. He has said he's going to watch this Mondami guy. He stepped one hair out of line, he'll arrest him. And a lot of people says, well, he's harassing him. I go, no, he's threatening him. I go, that's not a threat. That's a promise, because he's actually going to do it. See, Trump don't threaten that much. Trump will warn you, do this, this will happen. So you do it, and then you're shocked when it happens. But he said he was going to do it. He didn't. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. But see, people have gotten used to his promises, and they expect instantaneous change. And this thing that's happening with the government, the shutdown, we got to be patient. the Republicans haven't said anything of what they're going to do. They don't need to right now. Believe me, they have a plan. They do. They know exactly what they're going to do, but they're not going to tell the people. They're not going to tell the Democratic Party. Why? Let the Democratic Party dig their hole and bury themselves. And when they totally destroy their credibility, which ain't much for now, folks, um, it's then the Republican Party is going to come out, like they said about the health care and how, oh, the premiums are going to go up 400%. Well, that's BS. It's going to go up. I'm not. Don't get me wrong, folks. When the subsidies go away, okay, that's the false, that's the plastic that the Democratic Party put on top of the health care, so that you would accept Obama's health care more readily. Because if they came out and whacked you with those premiums, you would have gone through the roof. So they had to put these subsidies. But the subsidies are only temporary, okay? Like I said, it's not really the government's responsibility to do that. Affordable health care. No, it should be, it's done from the government, but not by the government. In other words, you get other companies and everybody works together, free enterprise, you get the best, the best deal you can, but people are lazy. They expect the government. We have a right to health care. No, you show me where in the Constitution it says you have the right to health care. You have the right. The government got to keep you alive. It's not there, folks. You show it to me. I don't want to sound angry, but, I'm losing my patience with these idiots out there. My fellow man, my fellow American citizen. You guys are so used to people telling you what to do and showing and doing it for you that you've become lazy. Look at the food stamps. 42 million. Huh? Is that right? 42 million? We only got 370 million or 360 million. 42, that's one out of 9. 1 out of 9 people in America is dependent upon food stamps? And what does it say you gotta have? You're supposed to have it. It's all the Democrats. I'm not. I told you I'm not a Republican, and I sound like one. But I'm for the side that's right, regardless of what they say. If the Democrats came up with something that was right, and I believe the only thing that I side with the Democrats really is abortion. Yeah, I'm for the first 2 trimesters. A woman can do what she wants to do with the body. And then you get all the philosophical and spiritual and religious reasons, and like that's why I said me and Charlie Kirk would have had a good discussion on that. Really, we would have agreed to disagree, because anytime an organism cannot fend for itself, it's dependent upon the mother. Like a baby, but the baby is but it's living on its own. As long as it's in the womb, it relies upon the mother. Technically, it's a parasite. Yeah, it's a bunch of cells that's attached to the mother, living off the mother. It's basically a parasite, as far as my biology teaching does. So up until the end of the 2nd trimester, it cannot sustain itself life outside of the organism. In other words, if you were to take and this is, okay, you have exceptions. Okay, remember now the way I talk, right? Yeah. So, you take a fetus out of the mother and you just supply it food. Okay. Nope, it wouldn't survive. The prematures, preemies, they're born a month early. They go into the incubator, and then they go into NICU. And it's touch and go because they would never survive on their own. So by right, if the organism is like that, then in nature it's allowed to die. But the only thing is, abortions are choices, right? You choose. Well, most of the time. Sometimes you have to abort the child because there's a major problem. But for the most part, abortions are optional, and the mother should have that option. Now, I'm against Minnesota, where up until the day before birth, if you want to get it aborted, you can. No, 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 no. That's too late. But up to the second trimester, to me, that's a woman's prerogative. It's your decision. So yeah, see, certain things I am liberal. Majority of things I like conservatism because the conservatism is the way that I was brought up with, and it's the way that it works. Okay, with the little changes, like look at, I would have never, in my wildest dreams, think that I'm doing this, recording video and actually putting it on the internet. Everybody changes. See, I'm open to change, and but it comes in its own time. You have to be patient. And with the Republican Party, they're showing the Democrats, no, we're not going to back down, because a lot of times they did back down in the past, and that's what bullies do, right? And the Democrats became bullies. Well, they're still trying to, but now they lie. They right out lying to the people. Nancy Pelosi says she's going to retire after 20 terms. 20 terms. 20. That's why I said term limits. You know, the I'm back again to the revision of the Constitution. This kind of crap gotta stop. Because look what she did in 20 terms. Look at San Francisco. It's a mess. Well, California, they voted for Prop 50. That's going to be a mess too. They get to realign their districts and everything to get, to make sure that they get the most people and they get the most representation through Democratic Party. And even that, there are cries of voter fraud and election fraud and everything. So that's going to be Pam Bondi's one of her groups, one of her projects. Man, they got so much project. That's what I mean. Trump, he has so much to do. You're talking about a nation that's almost totally corrupt. And you got to clean up all that crap first. And you got to clean it, you got to find it, identify it, clean it, and then you rebuild. That takes time, folks. It's not like flushing a toilet when you just make it go away and disappear. Except for illegal immigrants, and they're trying to do that and take them away. And look at the fight they're getting from that. We've got one locally. The wife is an ex Miss Hawaii. Never heard of her, but she's an ex Miss Hawaii, and her husband is being deported. Hey, the guy's an illegal Brazilian, national from Brazil. And she's fighting it. And what can they do? He's been here for so many years, but that doesn't, negate the fact that this guy is illegal. And she probably might have known it too. And she's Miss Hawaii and she does that. Yeah. So sometimes having, being popular or being notoriety, having the notoriety is a bad thing. Because people are saying, well, how come you didn't do it earlier? With your Miss Hawaii, you got all kinds of connections. You could have started his, through the U.S. immigration while it was still under Democrats. Could have gotten it changed around to be legal. But, ask Biden to give you an auto pen. You see what I mean? All this kind of kukai or this, this kind of BS and stool and, doo-doo that's on the surface. It's always been there, folks. It's always been there. Just that it was covered and mired by complexity and by they just kept it covered up, and they showed you the flowers and the meadows and everything. Now all that's gone and all the doo-doo comes to the surface. Always been there. But we just gotta be patient. You gotta be patient, folks. You got to just wait. Like my I was telling you about my Portuguese bean soup. It takes me 3 days to make. You know, I've got a batch of daikon. Well, it's Japanese daikon, but you treat it with salt, sugar, and it's called takuan. It's a sweet daikon, pickled daikon, and that takes upwards of 3 months to ferment. Well, it doesn't ferment; it just cures. Yeah, I'm preserving garlic cloves in the Korean shoyu vinegar style, and that some people say takes years. Well, mine's is going on 4 months now. It's not bad. Still got a little bit bite from the garlic, but that's just gonna go over time. Look at wine. The more the wine stays in the casket, the better it gets. It takes patience. You have to, especially with food. Well, the same thing is with human nature. Like this when the COVID came out and they were talking about immunity. Remember that hurdle immunity. What is immunity? The natural immune systems, the survival of the fittest. That's what it is. And they were saying, take this vaccine, and we're going to take this vaccine to make hurdle immunity. Well, hurdle immunity is natural, folks, and it'll just, it'll just naturally, the fittest will survive, and you can't pharmaceutically create that. Yet that's the BS that they gave us. So all these people took the shot, right, for COVID, and then they were still getting sick. And what were they calling that in the beginning? Remember, when you took the shot, you took the boosters, and you still got sick. Oh, these are breakthroughs. They're not supposed to happen. This is an exception. Well, we found out that's bullshit. What it is, oh, you need another booster. You need another. That was their answer. Put more crap in your body. And what's going to happen? Nothing. Wasn't happening in the beginning. It was all a bunch of BS. But people don't want to hear that. Oh, I've got friends that actually absolutely swore. In fact, they brag. They had their card. Hey, I can go eat in a restaurant, man. I got the card. So good for you. Go over there and go sit next to one guy that actually has COVID, and you're gonna catch it. And they look at me like, no. Everybody in there got the card, so nobody has COVID. Yeah. See, those guys were supposed to be astronauts, because in school they took up space, surrounded by a lot of those people. And I still needle my PCP. Tell them, so what's the limit? What was the statute of limitations on that? For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, when this COVID thing first started, and the vaccines were going out, I went to see my doctor, and my doctor was saying, you got to get the vaccine. I said, no, I'm not going to get it. Why? I don't like the science of it. And I told him that exactly. I don't like the science of the vaccine. And they know I understand, infectious diseases and transmission and all of that. So when I say that, they couldn't say anything to me. All he said to me was, if you don't get that vaccine, 100% guarantee you're going to come down with COVID. And that was in 2020. And knock wood, it's November of 2025. And haven't gotten it yet. My wife caught it once. And you know how she caught it? When she was recovering from an infection. They said it was an infection. They said, her PTOT would be better if she went to a care home. So she went to the care home. And at the care home, she was put in a ward of 4 women. Well, one of them caught COVID. What do? Do they ISO that person with the COVID? No, they ISO the room. So everybody in the room catches it. You're going to catch it. They put you in there, you're going to catch it. And she caught it. And her immune system is already compromised. She has end-stage renal disease. And she has a bad a compromised immune system. So she was telling me, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. So I took her to the hospital, went to ER, and sure enough, she had COVID and she had pneumonia, all from that place. And I filed a complaint with the Department of Health, and their explanation came back. And this is their explanation now. The reason why that lady wasn't isolated is because that care home doesn't have an isolation room. It's got 5 floors of rooms, and they can't, you know, each room is like a ward of 4 beds. That's why. So they won't designate one for ISO. That was department. They said, "Oh, that's perfectly all right." When my wife got discharged from, after staying at the hospital for the pneumonia and the COVID, they tested her every day. Take a COVID test. She tested positive, but she was medically cleared to leave. Now, this is a disease that they said could be transmitted droplet, airborne, and contact. That's a super disease, folks. For a pathogen to have all 3 means of infection, that's like the Ebola. That's like the plague. That's how serious that type of disease is. And this COVID, it was supposed to have all 3. That's why when I heard it, I understand. I was afraid in the beginning because that's what it means. When they give a disease all 3 paths of transmission, that is a bad bug, really bad. But yet now she tests positive and she's medically cleared to leave. You see, just gotta be patient. If that Tootsie Roll floats to the surface. Oh, but folks, we just gotta be patient. It's not gonna be easy. It never is. And it's, we got to tighten up. But like I said, we got 1 in 9 people are on food stamps. And you got to see on food stamps days at Sam's Club. Oh, you don't go to Sam's Club on food stamp days. These people are going out with trucks of stuff. It's all free. How do I get in on that, right? I blame my parents. It's all their fault. You know that? I got to blame my parents because they taught me to be self-reliant, to be independent, to, depend upon yourself, and you strive and you go for it and you work hard. Oh, that's right, Mom, Dad. Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you guys. But patience. Okay? So just be patient. God fun it. Especially in traffic. Get off that horn. These or at the elevator, right? Keep pushing that button, man. The car's gonna come faster. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Just be patient. We're going toward, it's Christmas time now. Smile a little bit more. Hallmark, man. Hallmark mysteries. Oh, my wife is constantly watching those. It's the same movie over and over. It's like, Harry Potter already. Getting tired of it. But just thank you for being here. Please tell your friends, like and subscribe. And please give me comments. Give me questions. What you want me to talk about. And it can be more than 1 word, I promise. More than 1 word. Look, 1 word and I went 29 minutes already. So, imagine if you give me a whole sentence. Whoa. But I hope you have a great week. And thank you again. Really, I really thank you. And I just want to say, ahui ho, malama pono. And of course, from me to you, aloha. Love you, and I'll see you next week. New word. Bye-bye.